Good morning, friends. Tom Christopher here. For the next few days, I will be filming a demonstration of my pastel process. I will start with the initial design, sketching out the design on Gator board, the surface I work on. I will be doing an acrylic underpainting, which includes house paint, which I will use for texture for the pastel painting. So grab a cool drink or a cup of coffee and let's have some fun. Okay, the reference for this project is a photo I took last winter, I think it was mid-December, of the Iowa riverbank just down from our property. I think this will serve well for a reference, as there's some nice design elements there, including these open spaces and just a few trees. So I think this will work out fine. Okay, friends, to begin with this project, I'm going to go over a few of the materials I used to start with. The first one is Gator board. Now, Gator board is not foam core. Gator board is a composite of material that's hard on both sides. Will accept water application, whereas foam core will likely bow or buckle on you. I've been using this material now for about 15 years. I get it through the U-Line company, which I'm not associated with. However, they ship it within a couple days, so I'm pretty happy with that. I think that this product was originally made, since U-Line is a shipping company, it was used to package material for companies to ship either UPS or FedEx or whatever. But it works really well for my process since it's sturdy on both sides. Like I said, in the composite will accept an application of either acrylic or watercolor. So it's worked out well for me. It comes in sheets of 32 by 40. I cut them down to the size I want, and they're easy to frame and put, or to have glass placed on top. So the first thing I'm going to do, since I've decided to make my painting 18 by 24, I'll first measure out with my yardstick 24 inches, which looks to be 24 inches, and it is just a little shy of 24 inches, which is good. So I'll have to measure out 18 this way. I usually make it just a little shy of 18 inches. Now, to cut this material, I used to use a skill saw, but now I just use a regular utility knife, score the top surface, and break it. And it breaks real even, makes a nice clean cut, and works well for my next application, which will be 2 coats of white gesso. I'm going to put on the white gesso, let it dry, and then I'll meet you back at my easel and we'll begin the design process. Okay, I'm back at my easel now. There are a couple changes. After I put 2 coats of gesso on this board, I did tone it with a little kind of rusty color acrylic paint, and that's just about dry. Also, I reduced the size from 18 to 24 to 16 by 20 so I could also get the reference photo in the filming. So let's begin. Even though this isn't quite dry, it'll work fine for my design. Now, I usually design with a paintbrush and just a little acrylic paint. This is kind of a brown right out of the tube paint. I'm looking at my design. And what I'm going to create here is a 3-tone underpainting, which is nothing more than a dark color, a medium color, and a light color. I'm going to go ahead and add some white to this, so I'll have a third value there. The first one I'm going to use is just to indicate the major large portions of this design here. As you can see by the reference photo, this line here cuts the painting right in half, and that's something I try to avoid as much as I can. So my first decision is whether I want to move this down, this bank down, or expose more of the trees, or to bring it up and expose less of the trees. I guess my focal area is going to be right in the bank itself, where this nice dark pattern is developed between the darks, the medium tones, and lights. So I'm going to bring this line up just above the halfway mark, which is about right here. And I'm not going to make it a straight line. I'm going to have it kind of dip down like this. I'll bring it up a little bit and then off. That way I'm not dividing the design in half here. Also, by bringing that design up like that, it's probably going to expose more of the area below the bank, which is snow-covered water or ice. So I'm going to debate whether if I want to bring this clear down to here or just up a little ways and expose. I'm not really interested in the water itself, so I'm going to make it a kind of a larger bank and just bring it kind of like this, not really following this line, maybe going down here a little bit and then straight over. So that's going to be a pretty large bank there. Now this may change as the painting goes, depending how it looks when I start putting shapes inside this bank here. Now the main tree is going to be this one right here that's just off center. So that's going to come down about like this. I'm going to add just a little bit more dark color here. Okay. There we go. Put a little hook in it there. Now this space between this and the next tree is pretty important because there's quite a area of negative space there. So I'm going to kind of blend those two shapes together as much as I can. Make a nice kind of irregular shape here for this negative space, which is this area right here. Okay. Now to break this up a little bit, I'll probably add maybe another tree down here, or sapling I should say, and probably a tree coming from this area. Anything to break up this negative space just a little bit. Now this area here, there's actually two trees that have grown together. So I'm going to put those right here. Maybe I'll put this one right off the... I don't want to repeat this shape, so I'll bring it up just a little bit here. Okay, it's got kind of a rhythm going here, which is what I'm really after. Okay, I think I am going to bring this up just a little bit here. I think the bank is going to be too big for the painting, so I'm going to reduce it just a little bit. Okay. Maybe I'll bring this bank down just a little bit more. That way I'm not making two identical shapes here. Okay, that seems to be a little better. And also, I may bring this down just a little bit more. All right, that will take care of those two similar shapes. I try to avoid repeating my shapes as much as I can. These are just filling in some areas. The hill behind it is just full of trees. Okay. This line is pretty straight, so I'm going to have to bring that up and down just a little bit. All right. Now the area behind it, the snow-covered bank, or excuse me, that flat area above the bank is pretty well horizontal, so I can go ahead and add that in. This is a little too direct, so I'm going to reduce that just a little bit. There we go. All right, now it's starting to show a little character. With this design, there's going to be a bunch of trees back here. Maybe a group of shrubs, or excuse me, of bushes right here. And those dark areas where the earth is exposed on this bank will be kind of like this. Just some irregular shapes. And it kind of fades over into here where there's some weeds and sticks gathered over here. Okay. This is pretty good here. I'm still not comfortable with this being so close to the center, so I think I'm going to actually bring this down just a little bit more. Kind of like this. There, that should work a little better. Okay, this dark right here. This tree right here. It's kind of in the same family as this tree right here. Okay, get rid of this line. All right, I think I've come to a place where I can start adding my medium tones here. And I'm just going to mix a little of this brown with the white acrylic paint and create sort of a mid-tone, which will take care of most of the shadows here. The cool places where the river bank is in shadow. I've decided to bring this side down just a little bit so it's not straight across here. Make sort of a hill. I'm just mixing white and brown right out of the tube here, just to create a mid-tone. Some of that snow. There's kind of a nice dark area right to the side of this, where the ground is opened up and earth is exposed. Which is right in here. Okay, and that earth has a few of those areas of dark earth right in here. And it goes over to here. Sometimes I like to connect them all together just for okay. Still working on the midtones here to fill in this shaded area. Okay, I'm going to create a few lighter areas within this shadow bank here, just with a little change in value. Add a little more white, maybe cast right here. One right here. Alright. Some real nice blue, almost aqua colors in the shades. I'm going to try to replicate with pastel. Okay, the shadows, this is pure white now. I'm just going to add a little snow. That's kind of a gauge to go by here. Creating those bits of snow. You can almost do anything you want with the underpainting. When I developed this process for using acrylic as an underpaint for a pastel application, this is kind of how I came to that process. I was just kind of messing around with different values, especially in a winter scene, and had a painting that I wasn't real confident it was going to be successful, so I found a can of house paint and just started splattering it on there to see what kind of effects I would get. And then I took a lesson from Jackson Pollock's film and started dripping paint. And then I noticed that the drippings kind of looked like tree branches, and they had kind of a texture to them. So that's how it all got started, I guess. This is just a little slight change in value to kind of show where the snow is going to go. I've kind of liked the way this is kind of dipping down over here. And like I say, you can do anything with your underpainting because this is where the design really happens. And if you want to change it, or you step back and it doesn't look like it's going to work, then go ahead and change it and move on. Okay, this is going to actually come up about right here. This is certainly going to be my area of attention, which you would probably call the focal area. So think I'll stick with that. And it's usually where I end up putting the focal area. On most of my paintings, I guess. Those tree branches will go every which way. Alright. Still working here with these mid-tones, just a little bit. Okay, that snow goes clear back to here. And it's the hill behind the bank here starts about right here. So this is mostly snow. It's going to be pretty blurred back here, just some really small abstract shapes. Maybe a few little branches sticking in, or excuse me, little saplings coming in to create a little distance. This is the kind of scene I drive by every day on my way home. Much of this light is kind of abstract because of all the shadows from all the trees and gnarly brush and trees that are in the back here at the base of this hill. Now the hill starts about up here, so I'm just going to put those in as kind of an indication. As this process continues, my next step will be, of course, to let this dry. Then I will be dripping some house paint. Now the house paint will dry and leave a texture that has become kind of my signature technique for pastel painting. So I will be showing that probably in the next video. I'm going to work on this underpainting probably for a good time here and let it dry overnight, and then I'll videotape the process of adding texture to the underpainting. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead with the white here, make some signs of snow. The reason after I painted the board with white gesso, I went over it with this kind of rust tone is because I like the warmth it does. Even when I put a coat of, or a light coat of white over it, it still has a warm feeling to it. So that's going to show through in the final application of pastel. I'm going to go ahead and add just a bit more white because I need to see where that separation between the darks and lights is going to be. Now I'm using kind of a transparent white here, which is kind of a problem sometimes because it shows too much of the underpainting. You can get a heavy body acrylic paint, but I guess I don't really need it at this point. I have used it before. But I'm just looking for, these are just kind of mental notes to myself. Where the direct light's going to be. And most of the light, from what I can tell, is right about here. And probably here. I always tell my students that put yourself on a timer, and every 15 minutes or more, step away from your painting, walk back about 5 to 6 feet, and look at the whole painting. Because if I didn't do that, which I found out the hard way, I guess, where I used to sit and paint, is that you don't see the whole design and you end up working in one area too long. So it's always a good idea to, and it's also good for you not to sit in front of the easel for hour after hour. Okay, now this tree here has a bit of snow on it. So I'm going to make that little note too. And it comes up to there. Okay, the snow here, of course, is in shadow, so it will have a few little pieces of snow. Okay, this is kind of a thin line here, so I'm just going to make this come down here just a bit. There we go. Anything to create a little motion here. This is partly in shadow too, so. All right. Okay, there is some reflective light coming off this water or ice, snow-covered water here, and it's probably going to hit about right here on this very lit area. So I'm going to add just a few light spots and maybe one here. This is pretty dark snow over here. Okay, there's a few light spots too right in here. Really darkest shadow is probably right here. A little backlit here. Okay, I'm going to step back just for a second. Okay, as I step back, I can see this has a little more light right in here. Probably reflective light. Add a little more weight here. There's a nice shadow coming from this tree. I don't know if I can be able to do it, but okay, there's a shadow coming off of here. Maybe from a branch or probably from something. Now this shadow comes kind of like this. All right, I could work on this, and I probably will, before I start the next video. So I think this gives you a pretty good idea of the process, and that's really all I'm interested in doing at this point. I've had a few requests for a full demo, so I thought I'd give it a shot. In the next video, after I work on this underpainting, probably tonight, I'll be ready for dripping the paint, house paint, and applying a coat of fine pumice gel. Now, fine pumice gel is a product I buy from the Golden Company, and it's a gel that has pumice in it. And I checked the ingredients, and it's very similar to the same surface that sanded paper like U-Art or Wallace. Very similar to it. And the way I mix it, it's about the same as between a 300 and 400 grit. So that's perfect for my style of painting. Anyway, the fine pumice gel will dry clear, and this will be exposed. So I have a roadmap for the pastel, and generally I'll match the color with the value, and it turns out to be a pretty nice painting. That's the goal. Okay, thanks for watching, and in the next video I'll be dripping some house paint.